As everybody knows, we started really late. 1 week before the start we hadn't been even sailing with the entire squad. And yeah, the learning curve has just been tremendously. And it's always one of these things, you can have the best sailors in the world and what you think, you're picking a team for that. But it still takes time to gel and to learn. And I think the learning curve has been relatively probably the steepest of everybody. And I think that's the credit to the Olympic sailors and America's Cup sailors. They just are the guys who are looking always to the red line, tiny improvements, and they just keep improving on that. And I think that's probably to their credit that we keep learning all the time and getting better.
Some people might be surprised that with the same boats that there's still so much more to learn. What's changed in that respect?
I think a lot of things have changed. I think first of all already the change of crew. It's a big change sailing with female sailors. So that's one point. I think then the whole sail wardrobe has changed as well. And that has been actually had a way bigger impact than we ever expected, because we never had any sails before we even started the race. We just got straight away with the race sails. And then I think just human beings just keep digging and looking into how we can improve even from the existing boats what we had in the last race.
Were you surprised that the Volvo 60s were capable of breaking that record?
Yeah, well, I think I was quite surprised that actually Axel broke the 600 mile. I thought 570, 580 would have been possible for these boats. But of course 600 miles is it's an incredible achievement, and I didn't thought it was possible because I always said the Volvo 70s are so much faster. But I think it's one of the pros of the 65s. We can just push them like crazy. And if we would have pushed the 70s like in the old days, we would have busted them in these conditions. That's just the reality. You're never under 30 degrees, you're very often 35, even to 40 degrees. So standing on deck, it's impossible. You can't sit, so you have to stand. So you imagine you just have to stand on 40 degrees all the time. You can't hold yourself onto it. And then of course then the amounts of water what coming over. And then downstairs of course it's the same thing. Walking is nearly impossible when you have to put your gear on. And just under that heel, and the boat is going from 30 plus to down to 20 knots. So even like a de-acceleration from what is it, like 20 kilometers an hour. You're just getting swept off your feet.
What would it mean to you to win?
I will be satisfied, but it's not the end of the world. I know how hard we've been working, and even if we're not winning, I think it's always one of these things, if you can look each other in the eyes and say, okay, this was the maximum what we could have achieved, that I can live with that as well. There can be only one winner, we know that as well, and if somebody else beats us, well, then they deserve to win.
3 boats, 3 points, any one of you could be on the podium at the end. It's a very different leg in the sense it's not a big offshore leg. How do you approach it? Is there a different strategy? Is there a different approach towards this next leg in particular?
I don't think so. I think we just take it on the horns and just sail whatever we think in the beginning part what is the best. And of course if you are ahead of the other 2 boats, then you keep that in your back mind and position yourself probably in a way that you, the classic one, stay in between the finish and your opponents. But yeah, I think like it's one of the things what we really learned. The position reports, don't look too much at it. Just sail the boat at a maximum speed and believe the direction where you're going to. And then of course at one stage you have to start looking over your shoulder. And if the time is there, then we will start doing that. But if there is a split of 100 miles, which is easily possible in this upcoming leg, then just look forward and see how do we get the quickest to the finish by ourselves, and don't start covering, because you know you're shooting yourself in your foot most likely.